remember, we're creating a baseline. And I want to start with saying that, you know, the prices are all relative. Depending on when the video is made, how it's going, whether the market's high, low, we're still looking for trends. Still looking for questions. Still trying to answer questions. And last thing I want to say is the card market isn't going to zero anytime or soon or ever. I mean, cards have been around over 100 years at this point. In modern day form, 1952 baseball, 1957 basketball, you're talking 70 years worth of history in sports. At this point, it is sports history. Someone open those cards. They've lasted this long, the test of time. And be honest, if you're watching this, if the Michael Jordan rookie hit a certain price and I could afford it, $1,000, $500, I would gobble it up. I would buy it. If a Wayne Gretzky rookie hit $200, I'm all over it. But there's people with more money than myself, or maybe you, that can pop on those.
I bought a Tiger Woods' most expensive, best card I just bought. It sold for $396,000 a year and a half ago. I just bought it for $140,000 cash. And he wanted $300, and I paid $140 for it. This card sold 17 months ago for $396. I bought it for $140,000. Okay. I just bought a Joe Burrow card. That's $1 million card. It's one of one. It's a National Treasure one of one. I bought the card for $300,000.
Wow.
Okay. I bought a couple Mbappe cards. Max's last name. What's Max's last name? The driver that won 2 Formula One championships.
Verstappen.
I just bought 2 of his cards. That guy's a freaking stud of a guy,
His
right?
cards are going.
Young too.
And buying, I just bought the Patrick Mahomes' second best card. I think that guy's a stud of a guy. That's $1.2 million card. I bought it for $400,000, $380,000, right? So
there is demand, no matter whether the card hobby or market loses investors, collectors, whatever you want to call them. There's always going to be sports cards nerds. Project Cards. Our mission here is to break down the sports card market systematically. What are the magic numbers? They're out there. We don't know them yet. We need to acquire the data to make more informed decisions. So the very first card we took a look at was Ken Griffey Jr., the iconic Upper Deck #1. And as you see here, this is the current pop count and also the current eBay prices. There's so much information out there, and by building a baseline of cards, PSA pop counts, prices, we're going to see trends. We're going to start to ask better questions, find answers to better questions. So if we move forward, the next card you're going to see here is the 1986 Topps rookie Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice is arguably the best NFL player ever. It's not arguable he is the best wide receiver ever. And you can see here he only has a pop count much different than the Ken Griffey Jr., right? That Griffey, if you watched our earlier video or day one research, I mean, that's an iconic card that just overprinted, unfortunately. Here you see there's only 59 PSA 10s and 1,000, give or take, PSA 9s. And for that reason, a PSA 10 goes for $66,000, whereas the Griffey, it only goes for $2,000, but the pop count, there's over 4,000 PSA 10. And that's really what we're going to see over and over in today's research and in today's video, is that with limited data so far, depending how rare or limited a card is, will make a big difference in the value of the card. And so this is something we will see continue to shine throughout today's research and video. One question I really want to know is, when does a card become too many? You know, when is it, where is the breaking point to go from a $40,000 PSA 9 to a $2,000 PSA 9? It's very interesting and a question I hope to answer. So up next is another Grail card, maybe the Grail card, the 1986 Fleer rookie Michael Jordan, arguably the best NBA player, basketball player ever to live or, play in the NBA. And you can see here he has 319 PSA 10s, and these go for $156,000. And then there's a big drop. It's 90% less, is that PSA 9 at $15,000. Now we're going to take a look at one more Grail card before we start to make some observations and some things that need to be talked about. So here is the Wayne Gretzky 1979 Topps. Again, one of the best hockey players of all time. He only has two, count them, two PSA 10 cards, and they went for $1.2 million. Very interesting, and the only card here you see that recently sold for over $1 million. Jordans are not even close in a PSA 10. But now I think we need to start looking at why and some reasoning behind these different cards and their prices. So here is probably the most important graphic that we're going to see, right? So you have all four cards side by side. The Griffey in a PSA 10, the Rice, the Jordan, and the Gretzky, also in 9. You see the price that they're going for highlighted in orange. But under that is the pop count of how many PSA 10s there truly are of that card. Now stay with me here, but something that needs to be done is called market cap. And what that is you're going to multiply, let's take a look at just the Griffey. 2,100 is how much the one PSA 10 goes for. However, there's over 4,000 of those in existence. So if you multiply the 4,000 copies of a PSA 10 times the going price currently, you're going to come up with the market cap. PSA 10 Ken Griffey Jr.'s have a market cap of $8.5 million. Now, no one's going to sell all the cards at once, and that would really hurt the value because there'd be too many out there, and there already is too many out there. But let's also now look at the Gretzky. The Gretzky card, there's only two in a PSA 10. They both sold for $1.2 million, right? So that's a market cap, or the most recent price, of 2.4 mil. Far less than the Jordan, Rice, or Griffey. However, because of its rarity, because there's only two, it sells for far more. Even though all the PSA 10 Jordans, there's a 50 million market cap. If there was many less, you'd see that card go for much more, as much as the Gretzky, if not more. So market cap is very interesting to look at and use as we're comparing cards from different eras, players, different sports. And just to make sure we understand what I'm talking about here, here's a nice graphic from Napkin Finance. And what it does is it shows you that it measures a company, but what we're going to do here is use the word card instead of company. So it measures a card's total value. And instead of shares, we're going to use the word PSA pop count. So if you multiply the number of PSA pops times the current card price, you're going to come up with the market cap.
Market capitalization, or market cap, is simply the amount of money that investors have given to a company through the price of their shares. You find out the market cap by taking the number of outstanding shares and multiplying that number by the current price of the stock.
The key takeaway here is market capitalization refers to how much a card is worth as determined by the card market. It is defined as the total value of the market of all outstanding cards in that PSA pop count. Now this brings us to some research question. Research question, what is the price difference between the PSA 9 to PSA 10? And earlier you saw, the PSA 10s are going for over 90% more than what a PSA 9 goes for. And here, we'll just take a look at that one more time. You can see that the Jordan and Griffey, a PSA 10 is going for 90% more than the PSA 9. Same thing with this Rice and Gretzky. It's actually at 97% more, or the 9 is 97% less. Now, is it enough to have trends and information on? No, but it's interesting. And in my mind, the very first thing I think is, wow, those 9s have some room to grow, right? I mean, once those 10s are unattainable, like the Gretzky, the 10 is unattainable. There's only two of them. They go for over $1 million. That makes the 128 9s worth 40 grand. Now, next thing you'll see is the pop count for the 9s on the Jordan, Rice, and Griffey are also a lot higher than the Gretzky. So what's the number that keeps that in the tens of thousands? Clearly 128 of a GOAT at a PSA 9 still brings in a very hefty and nice price. As I go and do more research, I come up with more questions. And question number 2 is, what's the magic number? Officially, what makes a card overprinted? Too many high grades. What is that number? The PSA pop count. And if we compare that to current sale prices, that should give us some insight to the question of what is too many. You can go back to the Gretzky card and clearly see that's not too many. Here it is now. There's only 2 of them and 128 nines, and that's what keeps the price high. But what is the breaking point? Clearly 319 of the best NBA player of all time, Michael Jordan, keeps that card at about 156, more than the Gretzky PSA 9s with only 128 of them. Obviously, PSA 10s are more sought after. Jordan, probably more sought after, at least in the market cap there, 50 million to just 2.4 million. I believe the more data that we collect, the more that we have this side by side, the more questions we are going to answer, the more keys we're going to unlock to what has a future in the sports card market and what's going to really struggle. I do really find this graphic fascinating with all this data here, and just to see that, wow, a Gretzky PSA 10 went for 1.2 million, the most recent sale, versus the most recent sale of a Jordan at 156,000. But then you realize, wow, there's only 2 Wayne Gretzky PSA 10s, and what that does to the market. And, it really highlights how overprinted that Griffey really is when you look at it compared to these other Grail cards here. The Griffey also has one other big difference. Not only is it overprinted and just has a higher pop count significantly than all these other cards, but there's a whole nother wrench in the card market, and that is, by the time Griffey came out, there were multiple cards. He actually has these rookie cards as well, where the other players don't have those rookie cards. And so that leads to research question number 3 is, how does the era of multiple rookie cards affect the market moving forward? Hall of Fame rookie cards continue to be in demand, but that's been in an era where there's only been one Jerry Rice rookie card. How does that look when there's multiple rookie cards? In the case of Griffey, he just has these handful of other rookie cards, but more modern day players, let's say John Morant or even Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant has about 15 different rookie cards, not one. In the mid to late 80s, depending on the sport, the card market really changed, and now you had multiple manufacturers, and manufacturers making more than just one type of set or card. For instance, Topps and Topps Stadium Club or Topps Finest. And you fast forward to more recent times with Panini, it's just gotten out of hand with all the different prints and types and rookie cards there are and parallels. And that really changes how things are going to get valued. There's one observation that's very apparent so far. Going back to the Trae Young versus Charles Barkley rookie cards, or looking here, scarcity, rarity is key. I mean, and it just shows, and it's apparent between the Griffey having so many, the Gretzky having the fewest, and the price correlating perfectly. Rarity, scarcity is definitely going to have a big to do in this whole project, and unfortunately the card market has moved away from that. It's going to be hard to balance or juggle all the new rookie cards and how to do that in this project. It is really that much easier when there's one card and you follow that rookie card, but now when there's many rookie cards and short prints and autos, that's going to be a little harder to track. Now, of course, that has to factor in to the research in the project. I'm going to continue to collect data, and I think what will happen is that will take shape on its own.
What up, everybody? This is Robert Ory, a.k.a. Big Shot Bob, and you're watching Professional Sports Cards. Hey, by the way, go buy my rookie card.